The day I lost my job at Morris and Associates, my sister Amanda called to mock me. It wasn't surprising. She'd spent the last 15 years of our lives measuring her success against what she saw as my failures. Seriously, Thomas? Fired again? Her voice dripped with familiar contempt. What is this? The third time in 2 years. I held my phone away from my ear, staring out the window of my penthouse office in downtown Manhattan. 48 floors up, the city sprawled beneath me like a glittering chessboard. Actually, Amanda, I resigned. She laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. Right, because people totally resign from six-figure consulting jobs in this economy. God, you're pathetic. You can't even admit when you failed. If only she knew. The job at Morris and Associates had been a convenient cover, nothing more. A way to keep my family thinking I was just another corporate drone while I built something far bigger in the shadows. Whatever helps you sleep at night, I replied mildly, watching my reflection in the tinted glass. At 34, I looked younger than my years in my tailored charcoal suit. No one would guess I controlled a multi-billion-dollar investment empire. That was exactly how I wanted it. Well, don't expect any sympathy at my engagement party next month, Amanda continued. I won't have you embarrassing me in front of Jonathan's family. They're actually successful, unlike some people. Ah, yes, Jonathan Williams, my sister's fiancé and rising star at Peterson Global Investments. The irony almost made me laugh. I wouldn't dream of embarrassing you, I said softly. Good, and dress properly for once. No more of your discount store suits. Jonathan's father is bringing the CEO of Peterson Global. Try not to look like the family failure. I glanced down at my Tom Ford suit that cost more than Amanda's monthly salary. I'll do my best. After she hung up, I sat in silence for a long moment, thinking about the path that had led me here. 15 years of carefully crafted misdirection. Letting my family believe I was struggling while I built an empire in secret. It started in college, when I developed an algorithm for predicting market trends. While Amanda was partying her way through business school, I was quietly raising capital, making connections, building something extraordinary. By 25, I had my first billion. By 30, I had acquired Peterson Global Investments through a series of shell companies and holding firms. Not even the board knew who really owned the company. They just knew their mysterious chairman by his results. I kept working regular jobs as cover, letting my family think I was barely getting by. It was easier that way. No expectations, no demands. No one trying to leverage connections or ask for favors. But now, watching the sun set over Manhattan from my private office, I wondered if it was time for the truth to come out. Amanda's engagement party would be the perfect stage. Jonathan Williams, her beloved fiancé, reported directly to me, though he'd never met the reclusive Chairman Peterson in person. My phone buzzed. Speaking of Jonathan, "Sir," he said nervously when I answered. "I just found out. My fiancée. She's your sister?" "Indeed she is, Jonathan." I allowed myself a small smile. "Quite a coincidence, isn't it?" "I had no idea, sir. She talks about you, but she doesn't seem to know." "That's because she doesn't know. None of my family does. And I prefer to keep it that way, at least until the engagement party." "Of course, sir. But what should I do when I see you there?" I thought about Amanda's years of mockery, her constant need to prove her superiority. Just act naturally, Jonathan. I'm sure it will be quite an interesting evening. After hanging up, I walked to the windows again. Below, the city lights were blinking to life one by one. like the pieces of an elaborate game moving into position. In the coming weeks, I watched from afar as Amanda planned her elaborate engagement party. Our parents called regularly to update me on the details, their voices tight with familiar disappointment when they asked about my job situation. "You know, your sister's fiancé is very successful," Mom said during one call. "Maybe he could help you find something stable." I get back a laugh. If they only knew that Jonathan's continued employment depended entirely on my goodwill. "I'll keep that in mind," I said neutrally. The morning of the engagement party dawned clear and crisp. I stood in my closet, considering my options before selecting a bespoke brownie souped in midnight blue. Might as well look the part when the truth came out. As I adjusted my Patek Philippe watch, worth more than Amanda's car, I thought about how this evening would change everything. Part of me would miss the simplicity of anonymity, but watching my sister's carefully constructed illusions shatter would be worth it. I arrived at the venue, an exclusive Manhattan restaurant, exactly on time. Amanda was holding court near the entrance, resplendent in a designer dress, Jonathan nervously at her side. "Oh, look who actually showed up," she announced as I approached. "And wearing something from Men's Warehouse. How appropriate." Several of her friends tittered. Jonathan looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. "Congratulations, Amanda," I said calmly. "Jonathan?" I nodded to my employee, who could barely meet my eyes. "Still unemployed." She pressed, clearly eager to show off my failures to her new social circle. I heard Morris and Associates finally got tired of carrying dead weight. I smiled, noting the growing crowd of listeners. Among them, I spotted several Peterson global executives who knew exactly who I was, their faces masks of fascination and horror as they watched the scene unfold. "Something like that," I agreed mildly. "Poor Thomas can't even keep a job," Amanda declared to her audience with a theatrical sigh. "Thank God Jonathan has actual business sense. Not everyone can be a success like him." That's when it happened. One of the Peterson Global Board members approached, eager to greet what he thought was his chairman. Jonathan saw him coming and panic flashed across his face. "Chairman Peterson," he blurted out. "I had no idea you were." The champagne glass slipped from Amanda's hand, shattering on the marble floor. The room fell silent. I smiled. The game was about to begin. The silence that followed felt eternal. I could almost hear the gears turning in Amanda's head as she tried to process what she just heard. Around us, the party guests had frozen in place, champagne glasses suspended mid-sip, conversations dying mid-word. "Sheesh, Chairman," Amanda stammered, her perfectly made-up face draining of color. "What is he talking about, Jonathan?" Jonathan looked like a man caught between two freight trains. His eyes darted between me and his fiancée, sweat beading on his forehead. "Amanda, I can explain." "Actually," I said quietly, "I think I should do the explaining." I turned to address the room, noting the mix of shocked faces and knowing smiles from my executives. "For those who don't know me, I'm Thomas Peterson, chairman and majority owner of Peterson Global Investments." The whispers started immediately. I saw my parents in the corner, my father's mouth hanging open, my mother gripping his arms so tightly her knuckles were white. "That's impossible," Amanda snapped, but her voice trembled. "You're unemployed. You just got fired from Morris and Associates." "Resigned?" Actually, I corrected her. It was one of several cover jobs I've held over the years. Keeps things interesting. I smiled at Jonathan. "You can relax now, by the way. I don't plan to fire you just because you're marrying my sister." Jonathan sagged with visible relief. Amanda's head whipped between us, her designer earrings swinging wildly. Fire him. You can't fire him. You're lying. This is just another one of your pathetic attempts to. Ms. Peterson. A distinguished older man stepped forward. Richard Blackwood, head of our board of directors. I can assure you your brother is telling the truth. He's been our chairman for the past 5 years, though this is the first time many of us have met him in person. I watched the realization settle over my sister's face like an approaching storm. 15 years of smugness, of mockery, of carefully cultivated superiority, all crumbling in an instant. But, she looked at our parents. Did you know about this? Mom stepped forward, her voice shaking. Thomas, is this true? All this time. Perhaps we should continue this discussion somewhere more private, I suggested, gesturing toward a side room. Jonathan, why don't you handle the guests for a moment? My shell-shocked family followed me into an elegantly appointed private dining room. As soon as the door closed, the questions erupted. How is this possible? Why didn't you tell us? Peterson Global, but that's worth billions. I sat down calmly, adjusting my cuffs. It's actually quite a simple story. Remember that algorithm I developed in college? The one you said was a waste of time, Amanda? She flinched. I continued. It worked. Better than anyone could have imagined. I used it to start trading, built up capital, made some key investments. By 25, I had my first billion. Billion? My father choked. Currently, my personal net worth is just over 12 billion. I said quietly. Peterson Global manages assets of approximately 180 billion. My mother sank into a chair. Amanda remained standing, her engagement ring glinting as her hands twisted together. But why the fake jobs? Why let us think you were struggling? I leaned back, studying my sister. Do you remember what you said when I tried to show you my early market predictions? Called it cute, that I thought I could compete with real business people. She flushed. That was years ago. 15 years, to be exact. The same day, I decided to build everything in secret. No pressure, no expectations. No family members asking for favors or trying to leverage connections. Just pure merit. We wouldn't have. My father started. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Like you didn't use Amanda's connections to try to get contracts for your consulting firm. Like Mom didn't ask Amanda to help cousin Peter get an interview at her company. They had the grace to look embarrassed. But all those times we tried to help you, my mother said softly. The job referrals, the career advice, the constant criticism, I added. The comparisons to Amanda's success, the jokes at family gatherings. I kept my voice level, but years of suppressed feelings were rising to the surface. Amanda sank into a chair, her perfect posture crumbling. Oh God, she whispered. All those things I said to you, about being a failure, about not measuring up. While I was signing your fiancé's paychecks, I finished for her. Ironic, isn't it? A knock at the door interrupted us. Jonathan poked his head in, looking uncertain. Sir, I mean Thomas. Some of the board members are asking. Of course, I stood up. We should rejoin the party. I believe there's an engagement to celebrate. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Amanda? That discount store suit you mocked earlier? It's brownie. Costs more than your car. The rest of the evening was a blur of revelations and reactions. I watched as my sister struggled to adjust her worldview, as my parents grappled with their new reality. The Peterson global executives who'd long known me only as a voice on the phone or a signature on documents now clustered around, eager to finally meet their mysterious chairman. Later, as the party was winding down, Amanda approached me at the bar. Her makeup was slightly smeared, her confident facade cracked. "Why now?" she asked quietly. "Why reveal everything at my engagement party?" I sipped my scotch, considering, because it was time, because I'm tired of living a double life, and because I looked at her directly. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come at our moments of greatest pride. She flinched, but nodded slowly. I deserve that. All these years, I've been so superior, condescending, cruel. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm sorry, Thomas. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I'm truly sorry." I studied my sister, seeing for the first time in years the girl who used to be my best friend before success and rivalry drove us apart. "The question is, Amanda, what happens now?" She looked at me uncertainly. "What do you mean?" "Now that the truth is out, now that you know your failure brother is actually one of the most powerful men in global finance, now that your entire perception of our relationship has been turned upside down, what happens next?" Her answer would determine a lot about our future. I waited, watching emotions play across her face as she grappled with 15 years of shattered assumptions and the dawning reality of our new dynamic. The world I'd built in secret was now fully exposed. The carefully maintained walls between my two lives had crumbled. As I waited for my sister's response, I wondered if revealing the truth would heal our family's wounds or only deepen them. Either way, there was no going back now. The weeks following the engagement party were a study in chaos theory, how one revelation could spiral out into countless unforeseen consequences. The story of the mysterious Chairman Peterson revealing himself at his sister's engagement party leaked to the financial press within days. Our family's photo appeared in the Wall Street Journal, my sister's shocked face immortalized for the business world to see. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from family members who'd suddenly remembered how close we used to be. Distant cousins pitched business ideas. Old friends from high school resurfaced with investment opportunities. Even my third-grade teacher somehow got my number, wondering if I remembered her special influence on my success. But it was the changing dynamic with my immediate family that proved most fascinating. My father, ever the pragmatist, switched from disappointment to pride so quickly it gave me whiplash. "I always knew you had potential, son," he said over lunch at his favorite diner, the same one where he'd lectured me about financial responsibility just months earlier. It was just a matter of time. I stirred my coffee, remembering his very different words from Christmas. "Really?" "Because I distinctly remember you calling my career a testament to wasted education last December." He had the grace to look embarrassed. "I was wrong, obviously very wrong. But you have to understand, seeing you bounce from job to job, never seeming to settle. Those jobs were covers to Dad, carefully chosen positions that wouldn't draw attention while I built something bigger. Every failure was calculated." "But why?" he asked, genuinely puzzled. "Why hide your success from us, from your family?" I looked at him steadily, because I wanted to succeed or fail on my own merits. No family connections, no expectations, no pressure, just me, my ideas, and the market. "And no trust in your family to handle the truth," he added quietly. "Can you blame me?" I gestured around the diner. "Look how everyone's acting now that they know. Even you, Dad. Would you be sitting here, proud of my choices, if I was still just a mid-level consultant getting fired every few years. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. My mother took a different approach. She showed up at my office, my real office, unannounced one afternoon, somehow talking her way past 3 layers of security. "This is where you've been all along?" she asked, taking in the panoramic view of Manhattan. "While we thought you were struggling." "Mom." "No, let me finish." She turned from the windows, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Do you know how many nights I lay awake worrying about you? Wondering if you'd ever find your path, if you'd ever be okay." "I was more than okay," I said softly. "Yes, you were building an empire, in secret, while letting your mother think you were barely getting by." Her voice cracked. "Was it worth it? Was proving your point worth all the pain you caused?" That hit home. I'd spent so many years focused on maintaining my cover, on building something independently, that I'd never fully considered the emotional cost to others, especially to her. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "Not for building this my way, but for hurting you. That was never my intention." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I suppose I understand. After how we compared you to Amanda all those years, how we pushed and criticized, you wanted to prove yourself without our interference. Something like that. Well," she straightened her shoulders, "I hope you've proved whatever you needed to prove, because I expect to see my son at family dinners from now on. Your real self, not some carefully constructed facade." I smiled. "Yes, Mom." But it was Amanda who surprised me most. A week after the party, she asked to meet at a small coffee shop, not the kind of upscale venue she usually preferred. "I'd been doing a lot of thinking," she said, staring into her untouched latte, "about how I treated you, about why I felt the need to constantly remind me of your success and my apparent failure." She winced. "Yes, that." She took a deep breath. "I think I was scared. That wasn't what I expected." "Scared? Of what?" "Of not being enough. Of not living up to expectations. Mom and Dad always pushed us to be successful, and somewhere along the way, I decided that meant I had to be better than you. Had to prove myself by comparison." She laughed bitterly. "And all this time, you were so far ahead of me, I couldn't even see it." "Success isn't a competition, Amanda," says the secret billionaire, she shot back, but there was no malice in it. "God, do you know how stupid I feel? All those times I mocked your career, your clothes, your life. You could have bought and sold my company 100 times over. That was never the point." "Then what was the point, Thomas? Help me understand." I considered carefully. "Freedom," I said finally. "The freedom to succeed or fail on my own terms. To build something without family pressure or expectations. To know that every step forward was because of my own efforts, not our name or connections." "And what about now? Now that everyone knows?" "Now," I smiled slightly, "now I do whatever I want, starting with fixing some things I've been neglecting." The next month proved transformative. I established a family foundation, not to hand out money, but to help fund entrepreneurial ventures within the family, properly vetted ones with solid business plans. Mom joined the board, proving surprisingly astute at evaluating proposals. Dad's consulting firm suddenly found itself with several major contracts, though I made sure he never knew they came through my connections. He didn't need to know. The quality of his work spoke for itself, once given the opportunity. As for Amanda and Jonathan, their wedding plans shifted from merely expensive to genuinely meaningful. Amanda insisted on scaling back the extravagance, focusing instead on creating something more personal. "I've had enough of showing off," she told me. "Time to focus on what really matters." Jonathan proved himself worthy of both his position and my sister, throwing himself into new projects with renewed confidence now that he no longer had to navigate the complex waters of our family secret. The press eventually moved on to newer stories. The flood of long-lost relatives slowed to a trickle. Life found a new normal, though not the one I'd maintained for so many years. 6 months after the engagement party, we had our first real family dinner in years. No pretense, no hidden agendas, no carefully maintained facades. Just family, finally seeing each other clearly. "You know," Amanda said as we lingered over dessert, "I never did thank you properly." "For what?" "For teaching me the most expensive lesson of my life." She smiled. "Never judge someone's worth by the suit they're wearing, even if it looks like it's from Men's Warehouse." I laughed, especially then. Later that night, standing in my office overlooking the city, I thought about the path that had led here. The years of secrecy, the careful misdirection, the calculated failures, all to build something truly my own. Had it been worth it? The lying, the hidden successes, the pain it caused my family? Looking at where we were now, Mom and Dad proud without being overbearing, Amanda humbled but happier, our family bond stronger for having been tested, I thought maybe it had. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in the most expensive packages. Sometimes success isn't about proving your worth to others, but about proving it to yourself. And sometimes, just sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's growth. I picked up my phone and texted Amanda, "Dinner next week? My treat." Her response came quickly, "Only if you wear something from Men's Warehouse, for old time's sake." I smiled. Some things had changed completely, while others had just changed form. But this time, we were all in on the joke, and that made all the difference.